Hello, welcome to ListenABLE. This is a podcast about normalising disability.
Welcome back is presumptuous. That people
Wasn't it? How dare I
but
presume?
to most people, welcome back because we have a very loyal listenership.
We do.
For 4 years, almost said 4 decades. I was like,
Yeah,
I'm not even
feels
40
that way.
yet.
We look
Jesus.
like we've aged 4
I
decades.
was going to say, we should put up a photo right now of what we used to look like.
Oh, that'd be funny.
Yeah.
Young kid. I've put on weight.
You're a dad
That's not a
now.
good thing to do.
Remember when you ran the calendar?
I do remember. The other week I ran 48 Ks.
Just in a day, not in a week.
Yeah, in a day.
In a day?
Yeah.
What?
You were overseas. I ran from Noosa to Alexandra Headland.
No training?
No training.
Oh, I think I saw this. And you
With
drank
my mates.
beers?
Yeah, drank beers along the way.
Along the way. How many
Yeah.
beers did you have?
8.
8 beers?
8 beers. Or 7 beers.
Did you have a vom?
No, but our good friend Matt Poole did, so I felt very good that
Iron
an
Man-
ex-Ironman champion vomited and I didn't.
Because he's an actual athlete. So
Yeah.
you're used
What's
to
that?
drinking beer.
Excuse me?
Well, you're an athlete too.
I'm a drinking athlete.
Yeah, cool.
This is a podcast where two friends, that's us, get together to bring you amazing guests and allow our platform for them to share their story. Coming into today's record, Dylan threw his notes in the air and went, I know this person. And I was like, what? He goes, hang on. You didn't know that we knew each other? I said, no.
We've got a friend on board.
So let's let them introduce themselves.
Hi, so happy to be here. My name is Sara Shams. I am a pharmacist by background, and I'm also a bilateral above knee amputee, thanks to a genetic mutation known as Tibial Hemimelia. And it's so good to be here with you guys.
You did forget, you are pharmacist by trade, but you are disability advocate, model, actor, public speaker that I have now witnessed over the last couple of years. Thanks so much for coming on. Now, a disclaimer, we do know each other, don't we, Sarah?
Yes, we do. I had the pleasure of working with Dylan on a couple of different projects, mostly through Shift 20 initiative, which has been an incredible project to be a part of.
Yeah, that's where we work with the advertising industry and marketing communications to make it more accessible for people with disability, but also have more people with disability represented on screen. We'll get into that in a bit. We can't just start with, that kind of stuff. But so I want to jump straight into real quickly about, I always forget that you're a pharmacist, to be honest, because we know each other so well. Do you still work as a pharmacist and things like that, or have you kind of transitioned into the other facets of the world that you work in now?
I still do work in pharmacy, but definitely not full time. I'm still a registered pharmacist, and it's an aspect of my life that I really enjoy, but have stepped back because of the everything else that I'm doing currently as well.
Can I ask a question?
Can you get free scripts?
No. When
thought
I
you were
go
gonna
and
say-
put
I thought you were going to be like, so I'm actually in need of.
when I go and put in my script and there's nobody else in the chemist, why does it take so long to walk and get a basket?
Can I guess what?
It's like sometimes it takes 6 minutes
Can
to
I
get
guess
some,
what?
You have this thing called FamV. It helps if I get a little tingle from my cold sore. You'd know. Not because of the cold sore, but because you're a chemist. Why does it take so long to bring the basket back?
Let me guess. Let me guess before you give us the proper answer. It's because you look dodgy, and they have to go on the
Oh.
system to make sure you're not a FamV addict. Eating.
Is that it? Is it like a gun safe check where you need
I
to wait
reckon
like
that's
2
my
hours
guess.
in Texas?
That's my guess. All right.
Okay, let's have a look.
First of all, no.
Okay,
It's
cool.
not for
Perfect,
Famvir.
perfect.
It's not one of those medications.
No, but for other meds.
For other meds, it depends what it is. It definitely depends on it. There's some things that we need to record for a national database because it can be used to create other drugs that we don't want out in the streets. But normally the wait is because you may not see anybody there, but there's other things happening in the
Yeah,
background.
Angus.
And, Angus, no. Scripts waiting, SMS, whatever it is, there's other things happening as well.
Okay, cool. I'm not just being, ghosted by my local
I was going to
pharmacist.
say they just want you to.
Hope not.
There is an element though at the chemist when
Can I tell you what my thing is?
you're waiting for 10 minutes. You just walk around the
That's
chemist.
what my-
100%.
So all of a
It
sudden I
is.
get some hydrolytes.
It is. I do it all the time.
tablets,
I'm like, oh,
Get some lipstick.
I need Nurofen. I'm like,
Lip
oh,
balm.
toothbrush. Do I need deodorant? You get so much stuff.
Yes.
And I always leave and I'm like, I've already got this stuff at home, but I just bought more.
It's the equivalent of like being online, checking out, and it goes, hey, frequently bought with these. And all of a sudden you're just loading up your cart with things you don't really need. We're on to you.
Not wrong. It's called companion selling. You're not wrong.
Yeah, see?
You shouldn't know that. Sarah, we'll go back. We will talk about Shift 20, of course, but let's go back to your genetic condition. Is that the word you use there? Which I'm not even going to tibial hemimelia.
Oh, you're talking about Tibial Hemimelia?
Hemimelia.
Damn it.
Hemimelia.
It basically means the absence of.
Oh, okay.
Absence of a tibia. Tibia is in your
Exactly.
legs.
Oh, yeah, that
Not
makes
that
sense.
I'm not
I
a
knew-
big leg muscle guy
Yeah,
or
I knew
bones.
that.
Is it a tibia or a bone or a muscle?
It's a
Bone.
bone.
So it's the bigger bone on the bottom half of your leg.
Yeah.
Not as big as the femur, one of the biggest bones in the body.
Not as big as that one.
Come
no,
on,
But
baby.
it's the bottom half. So there's a fibula, which is the smaller one at the bottom half of your leg. And I was born without the tibia.
Okay, you're talking to the wrong guy here. I don't really know too much about
Yeah,
my
leg chat.
I always get quad and calf mixed up when I'm trying to think of.
Oh, and hamstring thrown in the mix?
Well,
or just
no, I know
quad?
what a hamstring is because people pull them when they're playing sport.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm always like, oh, you've done your. I go to say, oh, maybe it's in your, and then I'm like, calf or quad because I don't. Mine aren't great. Anyway, back to you. We're just talking smack up here. So you were born like this, and did you have them? Like, did you have surgery to kind of make it easier to walk? What's your kind of story with your disability?
Yes. So, like I said, I was born without my tibias, which means I had the fibula, which is a thinner bone, but not weight bearing. And that's the most important thing. It meant it dragged behind me when I walked on my knees as a child. And when I was about 6 years old, I had a double above knee or through knee amputation. And that's when I became a double amputee.
Did you have feet?
I did have club feet and 2 toes on each foot
Okay.
because it was missing the full tibial side. Really interesting. Genetics is crazy.
Yeah, talk us through that. So you could move and feel your feet, but you couldn't weight bear because you didn't have the tibia. So they kind of would just, so you'd crawl on your knee joint with your feet hanging behind kind of vibe?
On my knees.
On your knees.
Yes, and with the fibula and the feet sort of trailing behind. And really it was just, they were useless.
Okay.
They were more trouble than anything else because they would drag behind, they'd get hurt, I'd get hurt and scratched and bleed from them. So really as a child, I was carried around everywhere by people. And I was born in Bangladesh where there's not as many opportunities for people with disabilities and there's not as many, I guess, adaptive aids available. And that really is what prompted my parents to move from Bangladesh overseas to give me and my siblings better chance at succeeding in life.
Do you remember the day so did you get the operation done in Australia or somewhere else?
New Zealand.
Oh,
New Zealand.
hey, nice. Do you remember the day that you were told you were going to have the surgery? Scared, excited? What was the feeling? Because, I mean, they were in the way, as you said, but still, it's a pretty gnarly thing for a young person to go through.
I was quite terrified, but to be honest with you, by this point, I was actually, unfortunately, a little bit used to surgery and having big procedures done. So prior to the move from Bangladesh, my parents tried other things as much as they could do to give me a better life and the best chance at life, which meant a lot of surgeries when I was about 3, 4, 5 years old. But aside from that, it was still a terrifying experience. I actually remember I was bawling my eyes out as I was being driven into the operating theatre and I was begging for them to let my dad in with me. But yeah, that was one of the memories I have from that particular day.
Both below knee amputations as well?
Through knee.
Which is a bit of a funny thing because really it's above knee, but I have my patella, but I don't have my own knee joint.
Now I make and because we know from this podcast the importance of the knee joint when it comes to prosthetics.
Why is that, Angus?
Well, because it allows you so much more. I mean, to have a motorized knee joint can cost 6 figures just to kind of get one.
But also, yeah, your knee joint operates as a hinge for your
Yes.
leg to swing through, so it makes it a bit easier to be able to walk around.
Absolutely.
Just testing in there, mate. 4 years of
Kurt
knowledge.
McGrath. Still think back to that expensive pair of legs that he's got.
And I need, 2.
Now-
Oh, yeah. You need 2.
So, yes, can we talk about your prosthetics and I guess the evolution of it? Because, we're talking about someone who was young when they had that initial surgery. What did you have then? What was the upgrade then? And what do we have today?
So when I first had my amputations done, I actually hated wearing my prosthesis because I could run on my knees wearing knee pads like shoes. But I could run on them. So as a kid, I used to play, baseball, softball, netball, whatever you call it. I played it on my knees. So I really hated wearing my prosthesis. And back in the 90s, early 2000s, I definitely did not have access to the technology that I have today. So the technology was definitely more primitive. And believe it or not, also, I actually was on those legs that I had in the 90s until about 4 years ago, until I got on the NDIS,
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
which is wild to me.
So what kind of legs are you rolling with today?
I'm rolling with microprocessor knees, which have made a significant difference to my life in terms of safety, quality of life, confidence, and just being able to do more on my prosthesis. Prior to that, I was on something called hydraulic or mechanical knees, and I was having about 4 falls a week because being a bilateral above knee amputee, it means I don't have a real leg to stabilize myself if I'm going to slip. So that's why for me, it's even more important to have the safer leg.
No real leg to stand on, as they say. Had to.
Exactly.
Sarah, for the people playing at home, whatever you just said sounded awesome, but actual gibberish to them because I don't know too much about legs. So talk us through the tech in the new leg. Obviously, I know because we're friends, but it's pretty amazing what it actually does. Do you charge it? Like, talk us through the process.
Absolutely. So microprocessor knees basically means there is a little computer in the actual knee itself. So I have the ones called C-Leg 4s. And like you said, Dylan, I've got to charge them every couple of nights. But what that means in terms of the computer in it is it's a lot safer. It is more intuitive. So if I'm going uphill, downhill, on an uneven surface, it has more safety features, which means, it prevents me from falling. And it also actually is a lot better in terms of energy consumption because it uses a lot. I have to expend a lot less energy when I'm walking on microprocessor knees compared to the hydraulic knee as well.
That's so cool. Technology is so cool.
It is.
Oh, it's incredible.
What about the charging component of it? How, like, what is it a normal plug into
USB-C?
Yeah, what are we using?
The ones that I have, it's actually, I don't know what it is. It's a different adapter thing.
Okay.
It's not a normal USB-C, but I think there are newer versions which do have the USB-C, which is great. And there's actually a leg that's better than mine that at the moment, which you have to charge every 5 or so days.
Wow.
My
Wow.
one's every night or every second night. So hopefully I can get the newer ones soon.
Definitely not funny for you, but funny for me. When I have some friends with the same legs and they forget to charge their leg and their leg just goes straight and they're just full pirate walking. Like you got nothing, you can't do anything else, can you?
No, it's actually ridiculous. It's supposed to be a safety feature, but I feel like it's more dangerous for
It's
me
so
to be
funny.
walking
I'm sorry,
straight-legged.
it's not funny. I mean, it is funny. It's funny. I'm going to say it's funny.
I've done that far too many times, Dylan, and it's funny and it's not at the same time.
It's not funny for you, but I like funny for me. Right? Exactly right.
Two things that I want to touch on there from that description. The first one is the jealousy of now that you're in this tech world and like you've seen the difference in the last 4 years that you must just look like, like some people watch Apple's new announcement for their iPhone release and what new features it's going to be. Do you get jealous when you see the new model come out and a bit of envious and see if you can upgrade it? Can you get a novated lease for your legs?
First of all, 100% there is envy, leg envy, 110%. I think sometimes being a bilateral amputee, I feel like I'm less likely to get the newer technology because obviously it's more expensive
Yeah.
in terms of funding. It's not just the one leg, I need 2 of everything. So definitely, and very recently a new leg was released, new knees were released. I'm like eagerly waiting to see if I would be eligible for them. And what was the second part of your question?
My second part is this. You talked about something that I hadn't really thought about, the confidence that you'd gained going from the different knees. I guess we think about it from a physical perspective, but we don't really talk about, what that means for you in a day-to-day life. How did it affect your life? Are we literally gone from, the Kelly Cartwright example of wearing, jeans to cover her her prosthetics to proudly displaying them to what was that difference in confidence?
That's a perfect example. So even though obviously I was born with a disability and I have been on prosthetic legs for over 20 years now, it's really in the last 3 or 4 years that I've become confident on my prosthesis and showing my disability. Prior to that, it's something similar to Kelly. I used to really hide it all the time. My legs used to always be lifelike covers. The cosmetics were skin colored. And then when I got the trial legs for the microprocessor knees, I was like, heck yeah, these are so effing cool. I love these robot legs. And I get that all the time from kids, by the way, at shopping centers. Look, Iron Woman or robot legs. And I actually really love that coming from kids, probably not adults as much, but kids are okay. And yeah, really, my confidence has grown because I'm not falling over as much. So, when I cross a road, I'm not feeling like I'm going to stack it and then get hit by a car. And secondly, I actually like the way they look. I don't no longer force myself to hide my legs. And it's really opened up other opportunities for me, such as going into modeling, going into acting, going into speaking and advocacy. Because prior to that, I was so busy hiding myself that I didn't see all these barriers that still exist today, which I'm working towards breaking down.
It's important to have that, it's a journey to be kind of proud of your disability. It's pretty scary for anybody, disability, not to be a model, to put yourself out there and to get on stage and talk about it. Talk us through that kind of journey to become disability pride before we get into the work that you do, because I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth, but like obviously being from Bangladesh, I'd like you to educate us as well about the cultural impact, that I'm assuming is a cultural difference in terms of disability to say Australia. Did that kind of have a heavy weight on you as well?
Absolutely. So obviously when we left Bangladesh, I was fairly young and I grew up most of my life in a Western society, Western culture, things like that. However, there's definitely still stigma that exists today within ethnic societies and communities where disability is still a shame. It's something that people don't really talk about. It's something that is really just discussed behind closed doors, and we're encouraged to not sort of talk about it. And for me, that's another aspect of my advocacy because I want to raise awareness and educate not just, general barriers, but also the barriers that exist within these ethnic communities. And so growing up, I really felt lost a lot of the time because I felt like I didn't belong in the Australian culture. I didn't belong in the Bengali culture. And then I was so different to my cousins and my extended family because no one else was disabled in my family or that, openly disabled, particularly back then. And so for me, it was really hard. And social media didn't exist where I know there's negative aspects of social media, but there's a big connection factor with social media. So I didn't see anyone like me, particularly a person of color with a disability. And that really impacted also how I felt about myself.
It's important. And then you just went, stuff it. I'm going to like put myself out there and be a model and be on commercials and all kind of stuff like that. When did you first start doing the modeling stuff and how did you get into it?
Literally was like maybe 3-4 years ago that it started in that space. Now it happened sort of organically. I started posting on Instagram under my No Legs, No Worries page.
Great name.
Where,
by the way, great name.
Thank you.
Name.
It's it's a nod to my bullies who used to call me No Legs Sara at school, which, in hindsight, it's not very original.
It's like when people still call me Wheels. I'm like, good one. It's like, because the guy off X-Men is Xavier.
Yes.
Wolverine calls him Wheels. So it's like, everyone's like, g'day Wheels. It's like, okay, mate. I've still got a few mates. If you listen to this, who call me Wheels, it's all good. But like, it's just like, g'day guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like a massive eye roll. But yeah, so through social media on Instagram, I started just posting my daily life. And I became more confident through that. I started posting fashion. And fashion is something that I always really loved, but didn't feel like I belonged in that space. Because even today, when you look at catalogs and magazines and runways, you don't see people like us represented as much as we should be. And so I started posting fashion and content, and then brands started approaching me about creating content for them. And then I actually went to a runway casting because I was like, you know what? Why the heck not? And so I went to a runway casting. I was, of course, the only person there with a disability, one of the two people of color there as well. And so went for it. I was trembling because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to stack it. There were obviously girls, able-bodied, tall, blonde, long-legged, fully limbed people there. And I overheard one of them saying, oh, I'm totally going to stack it today. And then for me, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be the one to stack it if it's going to be anyone. I'm on freaking stilts. Anyway, I went, did it, got selected, and which was a big shock to me that they had selected me as one of the models for this runway. But things sort of snowballed from there, from being on that first runway, and now I've been on a few different fashion weeks, which has been brilliant. And then I started modeling, and then got into a little bit of acting.
Yeah, then you got your big break. You got your big break.
Oh.
What was that?
Here comes the plug.
My own thing. No, I'm just kidding, Sarah. So
I'm waiting for it, eagerly
yeah,
waiting for
you're
it.
like, what break? I was like, no, I was joking. So can you, obviously we've worked together through the Shift 20 initiative. I don't really like talking about things that we do, but what is the Shift 20 initiative and how'd you get involved?
Shift 20 initiative is shifting that dial to the 20% representation of disability in media, and not just not just in front of the camera, but behind the camera as well, where we have brands signing up to do more on screen and have that authentic representation of disability. How I got into it is I auditioned for a role for the ANZ ad that was going to be reshot, and I got that role, which was amazing, and working with Dylan as well. And yeah, the rest is history.
It was pretty cool. Like I remember we were on set together. I wasn't in the ad. You actually replaced me as the person with disability in the ANZ ad, which
Thank
we love. But it was so, when we did Shift 20, we had no idea what we were doing really. Like we pretended, but like, are we going to find people with disability? Are the brands going to care? Stuff like that. And I remember meeting you and you were like proper, just talented. I could not care less that you had no legs, to be honest. Right. And that was what the whole point is to meet people so they can be themselves and get the opportunity. But as a byproduct, you get representation on screen, behind screen, in creative, working within brands, whatever it is. And, you know, from there, you replaced me again. You spoke at, was it Mumbrella? We did that thing together and like you just absolutely killed it. What's your advice to any person with disability who wants to get involved in the industry, or equally to a brand who might not be being very representative of people with disability at the moment?
My advice to people would be just give it a go. If it's something that you're interested and passionate about, just give it a shot. The worst thing that can happen is you may not get the role, you may not get the contract, but that's okay because you learn from that opportunity. And to brands, I say it's not just a good thing to do. Look at it from the business perspective as well. We are a big global market and you should be tapping into that market. And also, I think, Dylan, you mentioned something like this at the Shift 20 Town Hall that I was a part of last year, where it's not just us from the disability community. We also have friends and family who are looking for that representation as well. And they'll be more, drawn to buying from you or engaging with you as a brand if they see authentic disability representation.
Did you ever have any, this is a question for both of you, did you have any backlash, which is kind of hilarious because regardless, somebody's going to miss out on a role, especially when you go to like a casting, for example. But do you ever get any backlash, whether it be in DMs or sort of word of mouth of people going, oh, they've only, gone down that route for sort of tokenism? Did you get like, let's say the casting you went in for that model runway show and, one of the models who didn't make it maybe was on the cusp, even if they didn't know that they were, you got the role, they're like, oh, great, I'm losing because this brand wants to be inclusive. Cool, thanks for taking money out of my pocket. Was there any sort of, for both of you, those sort of conversations that you heard?
Yes and no. So often some people do say, oh, you only got it because of X, Y, and Z. And sometimes that can be true. And for me, it's a little bit of a battle because the catch-22, because at least I'm there representing at the table, even if it's tokenism, if that makes sense. But at the same time, the tokenism sucks. Absolutely. But to be honest with you, I haven't had any massive like big backlash or anything like that when I am selected for something because, I'm just good, as Dylan said.
Well said.
Yeah. And I mean, also, they would probably get cancelled if they went with some sort of big public backlash because, they're being quite selfish in their own thoughts.
Yeah, we often hear from brands they're worried they're being tokenistic, right? That their consumers might think they are. But if you do the work, listen to lived experience, and equally, you're not being tokenistic because 21% of Australia's population, 5.5 million, have disability now. So we're your consumers, right? So you're just advertising to your consumers straight up. We did have some like casting agencies say, well, there's no people with disability to cast. And we're like, no, you're just not giving them the opportunity to be cast. So we now do this thing with TikTok called the Shift 20 casting call where people with disability can just upload self-tapes and get jobs. And so many people are getting jobs out of it, which is really cool. It's with Zebedee Talent, who like manage people with disability pretty much exclusively, I believe.
Yeah, I've seen them pop
Yeah,
up in
so
our
we
feed.
we work with them, which is cool. And then, like you build it, they will come. Like we've got 12 brands or whatever in Shift 20 now, like ANZ, Tourism Australia Care, Anytime Fitness, NIB, heaps of people. I can't turn the TV on without seeing people with disability anymore. And that's because of Sara, it's because of people that have had a crack. It's because of you, Gus. It's because of people wanting to change that perception, around it, which is important. But equally, as you said, it's like, just don't do it to be nice. Do it because you're going to make more money. You know what I mean? Because it's good business to be able to do it.
But I think also too that you don't get selected just because you're
That's
disabled.
what I mean. Yeah.
People have to be talented. They need to have the qualifications behind them. I'm a board director as well, and I'm not there because I'm disabled. It's because I have the qualifications to sit on that board, for example.
I'm just here because I'm disabled. Angus would drop me in a heartbeat. So
That is true. If anybody is interested in being my new co-host,
he would drop me in a heartbeat.
Well, I mean, no. Anyone else out there doing 6 weeks in Europe or whatever long you do? It's hard to get around your schedule.
Me, it was only 5.
Oh, my apologies.
I did see that.
Fake news.
Yeah.
Lucky
Fake
duck.
news.
Living in Ibiza, poor me.
I know. Horrible. Before we get into the bowl of uncomfortable, is there anything that you would love the opportunity to speak about around your story of disability that we might not have covered?
I have recently launched my own consultancy called Ethmobility.
Great.
And through Ethmobility, what I'm doing is working with brands, organizations, community groups to work through the various barriers that people with disability face, particularly from that CALD background, as well as culturally and linguistically diverse background. Because even for me, being a disabled woman of color, I've faced different barriers that I have noticed that women who are not of color don't face. And often, if you look at, for example, a runway, a lot of the disabled models are not of color. So it's these little things I think that add an extra barrier, an extra layer of locking in jobs and things like that. So for me, it's really important to have that representation, but also working through those systemic changes, at that policy level, at that strategy level. So through Ethmobility, I do a lot of work in that space as well to ensure inclusion is actually on every platform and that everyone is being also recognized.
Yeah, I remember I once got called out, rightfully so. Like I never thought about it, but like I'm quite a digestible version of a disabled person, like white, male, Paralympic gold medalist. Not the ugliest person in the world. Maybe I am. But and I was like, so true. You know what I mean? I actually was like, that's so valid. Like I'm privileged, even though I'm disabled, I'm still a privileged disabled person in that sense. So you want to have representation of all people with disability, just like in ads. We've gone away from like white runway model looking people in every ad. It's just people, right? Because you want to see yourself represented, and it's awesome that we got there, but there's a long way to go still in disability, because it's like, we just did that, and it's like, well, there's a plethora of different people with disabilities, you know what I mean? So it is cool that you're doing that.
And we do follow on ListenABLE, and I'm sorry I can't remember their account, but it is somebody who they actually hit a really core to the same point of this. They were a disabled person, a woman of color,
queer,
who was queer.
Yep.
And she's like, I am every single marginalization trying to make it in this world. And I was like, oh my God. And here I am, straight white guy, able-bodied. Just, it's so true. Like sometimes you really do have to check your privilege.
Yeah, bloody oath. You can tick every box though straight away with one person. That also, if you can get the role.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, good person.
I'm an optimist, but like honestly, everything's done.
Yeah, diversity hire.
Yeah, exactly.
Time for our bowl of uncomfortable. Sarah, this is where we ask you a question sent in by our audience, or maybe Dylan and I have come up with a spicy little take on a question. We have one each for you here.
Okay, this comes from Anna of Instagram. G'day, Anna. Thank you for supporting us. It's kind of going on representation versus tokenism. So some critics argue that high fashion shoots featuring visibly disabled models are still curated by able-bodied gatekeepers who can slide into inspiration porn sometimes. Have you ever walked away from a campaign that crossed the line? And what is that line for you? Good question.
That is a very good question. And yes, okay. I have walked away from a runway thinking that it was tokenism through and through. The reason being is I got to the runway was not accessible. I had to modify it when I got there to make sure that I could actually walk this runway, because there were steps involved, first of all, which means they did not co-design or have me in mind, even though they knew I was modeling. Secondly, I thought if someone other than my type of disability was involved in this year, they would not have been able to walk. So if someone in a wheelchair, a model in a wheelchair was going to be there, even the way I modified it, they would not have been able to partake in the show. So things like that do remind me how far we have to go. And even though it was a bit crappy being there and knowing that it was a tokenistic effort, I have since spoken to the brand and the organizers and have come away with saying, look, you can definitely do better next year. And how can we do that? So I think for me, taking that opportunity and turning it around and making sure for the next year and beyond, they are authentically, genuinely inclusive was the best outcome.
Yeah, and the way that you get away from tokenism to representation, like authentic representation, is education, asking questions of lived experience and actually actioning it. So as we do part of Shift 20 and that, but like it's actually easy to be able to get done if you actually take the time to want to do it, not just plonk someone in there. Like equally, we had brands like, we can't cast a disabled person as a bad person. I said, why not? What if they're good for the role? You can't use their deformity or disability as scary, like say as a double amputee in the case. But like if Sarah's the best actor to be, you know, a bank robber or whatever, cast as a bank robber, right? Because she's the best talent or whatever it is. So don't go rob any banks though. If you do rob banks, that'll be an interesting career move.
Method actor.
But
Method actor.
we'll get you back on the podcast, whatever. Yeah.
That's right.
This one comes from Elise. Another great question. It comes from TikTok. I very rarely check the TikTok DMs, but this one
We love TikTok though.
We do love TikTok.
Part of Shift 20.
I
Love
knew
TikTok.
that was coming in. This one, and the label is great. I just love it. First of all, got me. I was like, ooh, great headline. Prosthetic politics.
Ooh.
There's a growing pro-body mod movement that celebrates high-tech limbs, while some in disability circles fear it reinforces an expectation to appear upgraded. Do you worry that your presence for eye-catching prosthetics could unintentionally pressure other amputees who are comfortable with less visible options?
Do you know, to be honest with you, I haven't thought of that in that way, but one thing I always try and share and make sure that people know is if you're an amputee and you prefer to not use a prosthetic limb, that's okay. If you want to be in a wheelchair, that's totally okay because it's your choice, your body and how you want to live your life. And I guess that's not really answering your question, but I think that's really important. I think whatever is comfortable for you is the choice to go with and the option to go with.
Yeah, I'll add to that though. You aren't lesser than if you haven't got as good a wheelchair or better legs. So like not everyone has funding schemes like we do in Australia, but equally even in Australia you might not get it or you might not, whatever it is. Like I'm in a whiz-bang wheelchair, Rove wheelchairs, but I don't look at someone else. They might look at me and think he's better. He thinks he's better than me, he's a better wheelchair, but I'm like, I empathize that the wheelchair that you're in. But equally,
Absolutely.
if it gets you from A to B and you like it, like who cares? Same as a car. Like someone who drives a Porsche is not better than someone who drives a crappy 1960 Daewoo. Like, you know what I mean? Like, in my opinion, some people will think they are, but that's not my kind of people. You know what I mean? So, and it is a thing where I try and check how lucky I am, but equally support people to be able to get what they need. But it doesn't actually make, for someone with a lesser mobility aid, lesser in terms of quality mobility aid, that sucks for them as well. So you try and have empathy for those situations. Hey, what's next for you? What's going on?
I am working as a accessible consultant for a few runways, which is really exciting because it's a space that I think really does need more inclusion. Obviously, from my lived experience of going to a runway where it's not accessible.
I'm available. Are you doing the bookings?
Oh, no, I'm doing the consultancy.
Yeah, but are you also doing the bookings of the models? Because I'm available, like to model.
I'll put your name down.
When he's not in Ibiza.
You said it so straight. Ibiza.
Ibiza.
Where Ibiza?
When he's not in Ibiza.
Is that the same as Ibiza?
Yeah.
Ibiza.
Oh,
I love it so much.
But of course, what was it? Ethno, I've got it in my notes.
Ethnobility.
Ethnobility. Yep. So we'll have the link in the show notes below, of course, at @NoLegs_no worries.
Sarah, you're a powerhouse. Don't forget about us at the Shift 20 Initiative, all right? We bloody love you. Please come back.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me on. You guys are legends.